Hello, and welcome to this brief demonstration that will guide you through the physician discharge process at Carson Tahoe Health. So let's start with this patient. Patient we would like to discharge. With the new process, there is a new document, structure note, that the physician may enter all their data into to complete the patient discharge. To easily find it later on, let's add it to our preferences. So it's on the toolbar, Preferences, Document Entry. Next step is to locate the document. The document is located within the physician tree branch right here. The document name is Physician Discharge. So let's select it, then add it over to our selected items. You see it moves over, and we can close now. Because we did that, when we go to enter our document, we can see our personal documents now shows the physician discharge document. Let's open it. And the discharge documentation opens for us to do our order entry, Looks a lot like any standard structured note, but it has a lot more functionality, less jump outs, and more data in one place and more entry points in one place. The navigation of the structured note, the note, is by the pane in the left-hand side, which allows you to select different elements within it. You may also collapse or expand each section as needed. You can also navigate with the scroll bar to the right, which will bring the screen up and down. Notice that the header does not change. This is to ensure that you have the right patient at the right time. So let's step through our sections one by one. Here we have the Health Issue Manager and Assessment and Plan. These are the health issues that are currently on the patient chart. Our goal is to enter discharge diagnosis. If we feel that the admitting diagnosis, etc., should be also a discharge diagnosis, we can simply right-click and create as discharge diagnosis. This now files onto the patient chart. Other ways of adding discharge diagnosis are to search for them. Here is our search options right here. We may type what we would like to look for by scheme, by code, and we will just start typing here. And then click search. Okay, congestive heart failure, that's what I was looking for. Now I may add it as a discharge diagnosis. Notice our discharge diagnosis is a type that is defaulted for you. Then we click add. And there it is. Again, this is saved to the patient chart as soon as it is shown in this screen, in this grid. You may wish to add a care plan and a goal to these diagnoses. If you select it or double-click the name, it will add a care plan for you specific to this diagnosis. Care plans can also be copied and also saved. Save my care plan for this problem. This means that this will save whatever data you enter for this diagnosis, so that when the next patient comes, you may copy forward this care plan. Let's enter some data. Within any free text within here, it also has the ability for acronym expansion, which is core across all structured notes. If I enter a diabetes one, actually let's enter one for CHF. So here I've typed in, I'll do that one more time. I've typed in chf.chf for my acronym expansion, and what I have set up for my user gets brought into the free text. We can also enter a goal for the patient. There's the goal, and we by a certain date. We can add another care plan, simply double-clicking. Diabetes. We can see my default has been brought in. We can move the care plans up to how they will print out and which is the most applicable for this patient. We want to enter discharge diagnosis based on my favorites that I've set up in Health Issues Manager. I can click my favorites and take a look at ones I have set up. Then we can add as we go. Now we can move on to the next section. This is the disposition or discharge to section. Here we will enter discharge to orders for the patient. We will pick the appropriate order, appropriate disposition, and here we're going to do home with CVU, home health. And we may add it to the grid. You may only have one of these orders. If you attempt to add more than one, you will get a message as such. But that's fine. Let's go add the one. So here I am required to enter a discharge diagnosis. Simple click, and I can pick those that are relevant to this discharge. I can enter any other information I wish, either a drop-down or free text, or a pop-up. Here we have the home, select the home health provider. We just want to do RN care. There's much more to this order that's going to be created, so let's take a look at the fields. Here we can enter with hospice, etc., and these will all get transferred back into the order that is created automatically from this note. And that's just by clicking more. If you made a mistake and wish to start over, we simply click remove. And it takes it off the grid. We will need to add that one back in now. Discharge diagnosis, required. And that's all I need. We can also enter our nursing orders here. No need to go to an order entry form, works, or order set. All is completed within this note. We can pick from the list, and we can change the instructions if we need to. Let's choose another one and add it, and click add. Again, if we make a mistake and we've chosen the wrong one, we simply remove that line item. Let me answer one more. There we go. And that completes the discharge and disposition section. Now we will have 3 orders ordered to the patient chart once we complete this note. Let's move to procedures. If this patient had any procedures documented within their chart during this day, it would show here. If you would like to add a procedure to document on, we simply search the same way we searched up above. We type it in, and we hit the search icon. And here we see our list of items that are displayed. And we're going to pick one and add it as a procedure. Same example, if we made a mistake, we can simply remove. That completes the procedure section. Let's move to orders reconciliation. Here we can see a visualization of how the home med collection status has been performed by the nurse. It is now complete. We do see that the discharge orders reconciliation is in need of completion because it was not performed before the note was started. There's no need to perform it before the note was started because the note will let you launch the orders reconciliation and complete everything you need with this simple launch button. And let's do the discharge reconciliation. Please note that this is core module within Sunrise that we're launching to. All functionality within here is all functionality as you would launch orders reconciliation from the SCM toolbar. So let's take a look at this patient. They have multiple inpatient orders and multiple home medications that we may or may not want to continue. For this example, I'm going to continue one home med. Actually, let's discontinue one home med. We'll continue the others. There's a couple of shortcuts to do this. So I'm going to discontinue this home med, not required. Then I'm going to pull over all the other home meds and continue them. Instead of doing them individually, I just simply click Continue All Remaining Home Meds icon up here in the icons bar. This will move all the remaining home medications to be as reconciled. Now to finish, we must reconcile the inpatient stay, inpatient orders. So let's make one an RX. Looks good. We're going to continue another one, but I want to discontinue all the others. Again, much like the shortcut we saw with home medication, we can mark all the others as discontinue on discharge. Please note that even these orders will not be discontinued now and immediately, but they will be discontinued when the patient is discharged. The reason for this timing is it will not interrupt the inpatient medication schedule. And now we can save as complete. Finish my prescription. And you can see our toolbar, our icon, our visual key is that discharge orders reconciliation has been completed. We'll mark our attestations, our disclaimers, and orders reconciliation is completed fairly quickly. So let's move on to core measures. Here we will see some red font. The red font and the label of these items indicate that this question is required to be answered. Once you have answered the question, it will turn back to black. To reset any radio button, single selection choice, simply right-click and select Clear Radio Buttons. This is the same functionality on any core structure note. But you will see we are red again. Well, I wanted to pick yes. I wanted to give the, stroke. These are the core measures that are a part of Carson-Tahoe's discharge process. Once we select, they will go red. We do have some expansions because there are sub-questions that need to be answered. Here I get a key that the diagnosis of stroke was not charted, so I need to do either chart an exclusion or complete the reconciliation process or launch RX Rider. But now I'm complete. And that is core measures. Cardiovascular will look like a very small section, but is not used by 99% of the physicians at Carson-Tahoe. Therefore, it is defaulted to collapsed inside the section. If you would like to open it, simply select it, and you will see the multiple choices that you may select or enter data upon. If you deselect the top checkbox, all data will be reset. Patient education is another section within this note that automatically creates an order. One order will be created with the data that you enter here. So I will enter diabetes, safety, and post-heart cath. Any other ones you can hand type. Hand type, it is free text. And any instructions you have for the patient. If you would like, you may also launch ExitCare, the core ExitCare module, and perform the same tasks and printouts and document attachments that you would within ExitCare itself. Now, patient education is now complete. Patient-specific or discharge instructions is items that you want to tell the patient after they leave the hospital. No driving, etc. Resume normal activity. You may also put a date within the no lifting and the no driving. You can give options in those also. You can enter a date to return to work and a date to return to school. And any other information you would like to add, including diet, etc., and additional instructions. And that completes the patient-specific section. Additional discharge instructions is simply a text box where you can give information to the patient. Again, acronym expansion does work here if you have the acronym expansion set up. Here I have .chf, and it will expand to the data that I have set up for the user, much like we saw above. Follow-up studies is another section which creates orders. This will create the lab order for the patient on a separate piece of paper to take to their appropriate lab. The same with imaging. A separate piece of paper will print out for them to take. We simply select it and add it, and it gets added to the list. We can tell how many days you want to follow up in, the reason for the exam, and who to send the results to. You may add multiples here also. For follow-up in, etc., you may overwrite the text if it does not exist in the selection. Same functionality for imaging. And once complete, we will have 3 orders, 2 for lab and 1 for imaging, created from this note. Again, no need to go to an order set, an order form, or any type of order entry. It is all here for you. So let's look at follow-up providers. There's many ways to select follow-ups or ask the patient where to go. If no follow-up is needed, it's a simple checkbox. Follow-up as previously scheduled is another. And so his office will contact you. This will all show up within the patient discharge document that gets handed to the patient. We may also want to quick select follow-up with your primary care physician in time period you select. Clinics are also listed here, but are listed in alphabetical order, so you may choose them. And the follow-up in is also there. To erase, simply highlight and delete, or select the blank. If on patient registration, the primary care provider was registered with the patient, they will show up here. We may add the primary care provider to the follow-up in list by selecting it. I will add follow-up in days and add it to the list. You may see it drop down to the selected follow-up providers grid below. Everything here, apart from the name, it can be overwritten, typed on, changed for this note and for this entry at this time, including phone number, addresses, etc. You may also search for a physician. Here I'm defaulted to search by name and starts with. As soon as you type 2 characters, the search will show you all physicians with those 2 characters. Here we have Adams, Ruth. You may also search by contains by simply changing one of these. So instead of AD for Adams, now I'm getting AD for any AD in the name. If you don't know the name, you want to search by discipline. You'll see even though I selected it, it changed, and I'm getting radiology because it contains AD. Or I can type in card, for instance, for cardiology, ped for pediatric, also counting orthopedic. But let's just pick Adams first that we had. We're going to do name starts with AD. I'm going to pick Adams and add. And that physician is entered to the follow-up in list. And we're done. All sections have been completed. Order reconciliation has been completed. Health issues and their care plans are completed quite easily. Now we'll save this document as complete. Then you're taken back to where you started from, for, in our case, the patient list. So let's look at this patient. Let's look at the Orders tab for them. And we can see that the orders that we had entered are actually there. They're created and ready and complete. We have our nursing orders, the 2 we had entered. We have our current pharmacy orders. And we have our discharge orders. These are created to the order reconciliation. And we have the discharge orders that we also created, the patient education, the follow-up imaging, the follow-up labs, 2 of them, and the discharge 2, with the correct data driven from the note. At this time, the physician's input and entry is complete for the discharge. Nursing and case managers will have their own structured note, and they will put their data for the discharge of this patient. Once they are complete, they will print the discharge documentation for the patient quite easily by selecting the toolbar above. Here is a display of the report, which includes the information the physician has entered and any information the nurse, etc. have entered. We can see an easily to read medication list, diagnosis, etc. for the patient to take home. All the instructions that we had asked or we had entered show up. A clean view of the follow-ups, both exam and follow-up appointments, are there for the patient, and any other data that you had entered. And this completes the physician discharge demonstration. Thank you for your time.